The origins of the Greek gods can be traced back to ancient Greek mythology, which is a collection of stories and beliefs that were an integral part of the ancient Greek religion. These myths served to explain the mysteries of the world, natural phenomena, and the origins of humanity. The Greek gods were believed to reside on Mount Olympus, the highest mountain in Greece. The most significant gods and goddesses were part of the Olympian pantheon, which included Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Ares, Aphrodite, Hephaestus, Hermes, and Dionysus, among others. According to Greek mythology, the gods were born from the union of Gaia, earth, and Uranus, sky. The first generation of gods, known as the Titans, included well-known figures such as Cronus and Rhea. Cronus, fearing that his own children would overthrow him, swallowed them at birth. However, Zeus, one of his sons, managed to escape this fate, eventually leading to a rebellion against the Titans and the establishment of the Olympian gods as the ruling deities. The stories of the Greek gods were transmitted through a rich oral tradition before being recorded in written form by poets like Hesiod and Homer. These myths served not only as religious beliefs but also as a way for the ancient Greeks to understand the world, human nature, and morality. Let's uncover the exciting stories of some popular Greek gods. The story of Zeus is a central part of Greek mythology, and he is one of the most powerful and prominent gods in the Greek pantheon. Zeus is considered the king of the gods, the ruler of Mount Olympus, and the god of the sky and thunder. Birth. Zeus was the son of Cronus and Rhea. Cronus, fearing a prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him, swallowed each of his offspring as soon as they were born. However, Rhea managed to save Zeus by hiding him on the island of Crete and giving Cronus a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes to swallow instead. Zeus was then raised in secret by nymphs and was later nursed by the goat Amalthea. Overthrow of Cronus. When Zeus reached adulthood, he sought to overthrow his father, Cronus, and free his siblings. With the help of his mother, Rhea, and the Titaness Métis, Zeus devised a plan to make Cronus regurgitate his swallowed siblings. Zeus then led his brothers and sisters, including Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Poseidon, and Hades, in a rebellion against the Titans, known as the Titanomachy. The Titanomachy. The Titanomachy was a great war between the Titans and the Olympian gods, led by Zeus. The Cyclopes and the Centimanes, hundred-handed giants, sided with the Olympians. With their help, Zeus and his siblings emerged victorious, and the Titans were imprisoned in Tartarus. Zeus as king of the gods. After the defeat of the Titans, Zeus became the ruler of Mount Olympus and the king of the gods. He was associated with the sky, lightning, and thunder. Zeus married his sister Hera, who became the queen of the gods. Relations and offspring. Zeus was notorious for his numerous love affairs and relationships with both goddesses and mortal women. These liaisons resulted in many famous offspring, including Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Persephone, Dionysus, Hercules, Heracles, and many others. Feats and epithets. Zeus was known for his many feats, such as defeating the monster Typhon, who sought to overthrow the gods. He was also associated with the enforcement of justice and the protection of guests and supplicants. Cultural significance. Zeus was a central figure in Greek religion and mythology, and he was often depicted with a thunderbolt in his hand. His worship was widespread throughout ancient Greece, and various festivals and games, such as the Olympic Games, were dedicated to him. Zeus remains a symbol of power and authority in Greek mythology, representing the highest order of the divine hierarchy. His stories continue to be a significant part of Western literature and culture. Hera, the queen of the Olympian gods and the goddess of marriage and family, is a prominent figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of her story. Birth. Hera was the daughter of Cronus and Rhea, making her a sibling to Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Demeter, and Hestia. Like her siblings, she was swallowed by her father Cronus but later released when Zeus led the successful revolt against the Titans. Marriage to Zeus. After the Titanomachy, Zeus became the king of the gods, and Hera became his sister and wife. Their marriage, however, was marked by numerous conflicts and Zeus's infidelity. Despite this, Hera was considered the queen of the gods and the goddess of marriage, embodying the sacredness of the marital union. Jealousy and vengeance. Hera was notorious for her jealousy, particularly regarding Zeus's many extramarital affairs. Her wrath often targeted Zeus's lovers and their offspring. One of the most famous examples is her hostility towards Heracles, Zeus's son from an affair with Alcmena. Hera sent snakes to kill the infant Hercules, but he survived, and their tumultuous relationship continued throughout his life. Feats and associations. Hera was associated with childbirth, fertility, and the protection of married women. She was considered the patroness of married life and took special interest in the well-being of married couples. Despite her role as the goddess of marriage, her own relationship with Zeus was far from harmonious. Epithets and symbols. Hera was often referred to by various epithets, such as Queen of Heaven and Cow-eyed Hera. Her sacred animals were the cow and the peacock, and she was often depicted holding a scepter and a pomegranate. The Judgment of Paris. The Judgment of Paris, a significant event leading to the Trojan War, involved a beauty contest among Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Paris, a Trojan prince, was tasked with choosing the fairest goddess. Each goddess offered him a bribe, and Paris ultimately chose Aphrodite, who promised him the love of the most beautiful mortal woman, Helen. This decision had far-reaching consequences, leading to the Trojan War. Cultural significance. Hera's stories showcase themes of marriage, family dynamics, and the complexities of divine relationships. She is a complex character with both positive and negative qualities, reflecting the multifaceted nature of Greek mythology. Her worship was widespread in ancient Greece, and various temples and festivals were dedicated to her. Poseidon, the god of the sea, earthquakes, and horses, is a significant figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of his story. Parentage. Poseidon was one of the 6 children of Cronus and Rhea, making him a sibling to Zeus, Hera, Hades, Demeter, and Hestia. He was swallowed by his father Cronus but later released when Zeus led the revolt against the Titans. Realm and attributes. As the god of the sea, Poseidon ruled over the vast oceans and all sea creatures. He was also associated with earthquakes, often depicted wielding a trident, a 3-pronged spear. In addition to his dominion over the sea, Poseidon was considered the creator of horses. Conflict with Athena. One of the most famous stories involving Poseidon is his rivalry with Athena over the patronage of Athens. The city needed a patron deity, and both Poseidon and Athena competed for the honor. In a contest, each god was to offer a gift to the city, and the citizens would choose the winner. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident, creating a saltwater spring, but the water was salty and not suitable for drinking. Athena, on the other hand, offered an olive tree, symbolizing peace and prosperity. The citizens chose Athena's gift, and she became the patron goddess of Athens. Medusa and Pegasus. Poseidon was involved in the myth of Medusa, one of the Gorgons. Medusa was originally a beautiful maiden, but after being cursed by Athena for a tryst with Poseidon in Athena's temple, she was transformed into a hideous monster with snakes for hair. Perseus eventually slew Medusa, and from her blood emerged the winged horse Pegasus and the giant Chrysaor, both fathered by Poseidon. Amphitrite and other consorts. Poseidon married Amphitrite, a sea nymph, and they had several children together, including Triton. Despite his marriage, Poseidon was known for his numerous love affairs and children with various goddesses and mortal women. Contests and feats. Poseidon engaged in several contests and conflicts with other gods, including Zeus and Hera. His temperamental nature often led to disputes, and he was known for causing earthquakes and storms when angered. In the Trojan War, Poseidon sided with the Greeks and played a crucial role in the conflict. Cultural significance. Poseidon was an essential deity in ancient Greek religion, revered by sailors and those who depended on the sea. His worship extended throughout the Mediterranean, and various festivals and rituals were dedicated to him. The city of Corinth, for example, held the Isthmian Games in his honor. The myths surrounding Poseidon reflect the ancient Greeks' understanding of the unpredictable and powerful nature of the sea, as well as their efforts to explain natural phenomena like earthquakes. Demeter, the Greek goddess of agriculture, harvest, and fertility, is a central figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of her story. Parentage. Demeter was the daughter of Cronus and Rhea, making her a sister to Zeus, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and Hestia. Like her siblings, she was swallowed by her father Cronus but later released when Zeus led the successful revolt against the Titans. Abduction of Persephone. One of the most well-known myths involving Demeter is the abduction of her daughter Persephone. Hades, the god of the underworld and brother to Zeus, fell in love with Persephone and, with the consent of Zeus, abducted her to be his queen. Demeter, grief-stricken at the loss of her daughter, wandered the earth in search of her. Search for Persephone. During her search for Persephone, Demeter neglected her duties as the goddess of agriculture, causing the earth to wither and crops to die. Famine spread across the land, and humanity suffered. The gods became concerned about the plight of mortals and intervened to resolve the situation. Persephone's return. It was eventually revealed that Persephone had been taken to the underworld. A compromise was reached, and Persephone was allowed to spend part of the year with her mother on earth, bringing about the seasons. During the time Persephone was with Hades in the underworld, Demeter mourned, and winter prevailed. When Persephone returned to her, Demeter rejoiced, and spring and summer blossomed. Epithets and worship. Demeter was often referred to as the bringer of seasons and the bountiful. She was associated with the fertility of the earth and the well-being of agriculture. The Eleusinian Mysteries, a religious festival held in her honor at the city of Eleusis, played a significant role in ancient Greek religion. The mysteries were secret rites that promised initiates a more favorable afterlife, and Demeter's story, particularly her grief and eventual reunion with Persephone, was central to these rituals. Symbols and depictions. Demeter is often depicted holding a sheaf of wheat or barley, symbolizing her connection to agriculture. She is also associated with the plow and the sacred serpent. The pig and the cow were sacred to her. Demeter's story is not only a myth explaining the changing seasons but also an exploration of the profound connection between the goddess and the cycles of life, death, and rebirth in the natural world. Hades, the Greek god of the underworld, is a significant and enigmatic figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of his story. Family and dominion. Hades was one of the children of Cronus and Rhea, making him a sibling to Zeus, Hera, Demeter, Hestia, and Poseidon. After the defeat of the Titans, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades drew lots to determine their realms. Hades became the ruler of the underworld, the realm of the dead. Although often associated with death and the afterlife, Hades was not considered an evil god, rather, he was fulfilling a necessary role in the divine order. Kidnapping of Persephone. One of the most well-known myths involving Hades is the kidnapping of Persephone. Hades, smitten by Persephone's beauty, abducted her to be his queen in the underworld. Demeter, Persephone's mother and the goddess of the harvest, was grief-stricken and mourned the loss of her daughter. During her sorrow, she neglected her duties, causing crops to wither and famine to spread across the land. Demeter's wrath and the compromise. The suffering on earth caught the attention of the gods, and Zeus intervened to mediate the situation. It was decided that Persephone would spend part of the year in the underworld with Hades and the other part on earth with her mother. This division of time explained the changing seasons. During the months Persephone is with Hades, winter prevails, and when she returns to her mother, spring and summer flourish. Guardian of the underworld. Hades ruled the underworld with strict adherence to the laws of the afterlife. He was responsible for judging the souls of the deceased and determining their fate in the underworld. While Hades is often portrayed as stern and impartial, he was not necessarily malicious, rather, he maintained order in his realm. Hades in myths and stories. Hades appeared in various myths and stories related to the underworld. Notable instances include his involvement in the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, where Orpheus attempts to retrieve his deceased wife Eurydice from the underworld. His role in the story of the hero Heracles, Hercules, and the 12 labors, specifically in capturing the three-headed dog Cerberus, the guardian of the underworld. Cult worship. Hades did not have a significant cult following like some other Olympian gods. Worship and offerings were often focused on other deities associated with life, fertility, and prosperity. However, the ancient Greeks acknowledged Hades in funeral rites and believed in the importance of proper burial to ensure a peaceful afterlife. Representation in art. In art, Hades was often depicted with a dark and somber demeanor, wearing a helmet that rendered him invisible. The three-headed dog Cerberus and the ferryman Charon were common symbols associated with him. In summary, Hades' story is intricately linked to the myth of Persephone, and his role as the ruler of the underworld played a crucial part in the Greek understanding of the afterlife and the cycle of life and death. Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom, warfare, and crafts, is a prominent figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of her story. Birth. Athena was born in a unique and unusual manner. Zeus, the king of the gods, learned of a prophecy that a child born from his first wife, Metis, would surpass him in wisdom. To prevent this, Zeus swallowed Metis while she was pregnant. However, he soon began to suffer from severe headaches. Hephaestus, the god of craftsmanship, split Zeus's head open with an axe, and Athena emerged fully grown and wearing armor, brandishing a spear. Goddess of wisdom. Athena quickly established herself as the goddess of wisdom, known for her intelligence, strategy, and tactical skill. She became a close advisor to Zeus and was often depicted with an owl, a symbol of wisdom, and a shield known as the Aegis. The contest with Poseidon. A famous myth involving Athena is her contest with Poseidon for the patronage of Athens. Both gods desired to be the city's protector, and they were tasked with presenting a gift to the people of Athens. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident, creating a spring, but the water was salty and not suitable for drinking. Athena, on the other hand, planted an olive tree, symbolizing peace and prosperity. The citizens chose Athena's gift, and she became the city's patroness. Athens was named after her. The Parthenon and the Panathenaic festival. Athena played a central role in the cultural and religious life of Athens. The Parthenon, a magnificent temple on the Acropolis, was dedicated to her. The Panathenaic festival, a major celebration in honor of Athena, took place every 4 years and included athletic contests, processions, and sacrifices. Protection of heroes. While Athena was primarily associated with wisdom and strategy, she also protected and aided various heroes in their quests. She assisted Perseus in his battle against the Gorgon Medusa, guided Heracles during his 12 labors, and supported Odysseus on his journey home from the Trojan War. Athena and Arachne. In one myth, Athena had a weaving contest with a mortal woman named Arachne. Arachne's tapestry depicted the gods in unflattering situations, angering Athena. The goddess transformed Arachne into a spider for her arrogance, and the word arachnid is derived from this myth. Cultural significance. Athena was highly revered in ancient Greek culture and literature. She embodied the ideal of wisdom and was a symbol of civic order and justice. The city of Athens, in particular, considered Athena its guardian and protector, and her influence extended beyond Greece, leaving a lasting legacy in Western civilization. Apollo, the Greek god of music, poetry, prophecy, healing, and the sun, is a complex and multifaceted figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of his story. Birth. Apollo was the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, and Leto, a Titaness. His twin sister is Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. Hera, the wife of Zeus, was extremely jealous of Leto's relationship with Zeus and pursued Leto across the world, making it difficult for her to find a place to give birth. Finally, Delos, an island that was not rooted in the sea, agreed to provide a sanctuary, and it was there that Apollo and Artemis were born. Divine attributes. Apollo was associated with various aspects of Greek life and culture. He was the god of music and poetry, often depicted playing the lyre. Apollo was also the god of prophecy and had a famous sanctuary at Delphi, where the oracle of Delphi would deliver prophecies. As the god of the sun, he was often associated with light and healing. Apollo and the Python. After his birth, Apollo sought revenge against the Python, a serpent born of the earth, who had pursued his mother Leto. Apollo killed the Python with his bow and arrows, establishing the sanctuary at Delphi. The Pythian Games were held in honor of Apollo, commemorating his victory over the serpent. Apollo and Daphne. One of the famous myths involving Apollo is his pursuit of Daphne, a nymph. Daphne, pursued by Apollo's amorous advances, prayed to her father, the river god Peneus, for help. Peneus transformed her into a laurel tree, and Apollo, unable to win her love, embraced the laurel tree and declared it sacred. From then on, the laurel became associated with Apollo, and crowns of laurel leaves were given as honors in ancient Greece. Apollo and Hyacinth. Another myth involves Apollo's close friendship with a mortal youth named Hyacinth. Unfortunately, Hyacinth died, and from his blood, Apollo created the hyacinth flower. The grief-stricken Apollo held an annual festival in memory of Hyacinth. Marsyas and the music contest. Apollo was also known for his musical prowess. In a famous musical contest, he defeated the satyr Marsyas. The terms of the contest varied, but regardless of the specifics, Apollo emerged victorious and punished Marsyas for challenging him. Apollo and Coronis. Apollo's romantic relationships were not always successful. In one story, Coronis, a mortal woman, betrayed Apollo by being unfaithful. Apollo, angered by her actions, killed her. However, he saved their unborn son, Asclepius, and raised him to become the god of healing. Cultural significance. Apollo was widely worshipped in ancient Greece and had numerous temples dedicated to him. His influence extended to various aspects of Greek life, including art, music, medicine, and divination. The Oracle of Delphi, associated with Apollo, was considered one of the most important sources of prophecy in the ancient world. Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, wilderness, and childbirth, is a significant and complex figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of her story. Birth. Artemis was the twin sister of Apollo, born to Zeus and Leto. Her birth took place on the island of Delos after Leto, pursued by the jealous Hera, found refuge there. Artemis was born before her brother Apollo and, as the story goes, immediately assisted her mother in delivering Apollo. Goddess of the hunt. Artemis was primarily associated with the hunt and the wilderness. She was often depicted with a bow and arrows, accompanied by hunting dogs or deer. Artemis was a skilled archer and a protector of wild animals. Her sanctuary at Ephesus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, highlighted her importance as a fertility goddess. Vow of chastity. Artemis was known for her commitment to a life of chastity and independence. She requested and received a vow of eternal virginity from her father, Zeus. The goddess and her companions, known as the nymphs of the woods, remained uninterested in romantic relationships and focused on their connection to nature. Artemis and Actaeon. One famous myth involving Artemis is the story of Actaeon. While hunting in the woods, the mortal hunter Actaeon accidentally stumbled upon Artemis bathing. Enraged by the intrusion, Artemis transformed Actaeon into a stag, and he was subsequently torn apart by his own hunting dogs. Artemis and Orion. Another notable myth involves Artemis and Orion, a giant and skilled hunter. Different versions of the story exist, but in one, Orion's death is attributed to Artemis's uncertainty about her feelings for him. According to some accounts, Apollo tricked Artemis into shooting Orion in the distance, not realizing it was him. Artemis and Niobe. Artemis, along with her brother Apollo, played a role in the punishment of Niobe. Niobe, a mortal queen, boasted about her numerous children, comparing herself favorably to the goddess Leto. In response, Artemis and Apollo killed Niobe's children, and she was turned into a stone statue, forever weeping for her losses. Artemis as the protector of women and children. While Artemis was associated with the untamed wilderness, she also had a role in protecting women and children, particularly during childbirth. She was worshipped as a guardian and helper in times of need. Cultural significance. Artemis was widely worshipped in ancient Greece, and numerous temples and sanctuaries were dedicated to her. The festival of Artemis at Broron involved rituals and ceremonies, including young girls participating in a bear dance in honor of the goddess. Artemis is a complex deity whose myths reflect the various aspects of nature, the hunt, and the challenges faced by mortals. Her influence extended beyond Greece, leaving a lasting impact on ancient religion and mythology. Ares, the Greek god of war, is a complex and often controversial figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of his story. Parentage. Ares was the son of Zeus and Hera, making him a full-blooded god. He was one of the 12 Olympian gods, but his parentage didn't shield him from the tumultuous relationships within the divine family. Personality and attributes. Ares was characterized by his violent and aggressive nature. Unlike his sister Athena, who represented strategic warfare, Ares was associated with the brutality and chaos of war. He was often portrayed as impulsive, hot-tempered, and a lover of conflict. Lovers and offspring. Ares had several romantic entanglements, resulting in various offspring. His most notable affair was with Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, even though she was married to Hephaestus. The adulterous relationship between Ares and Aphrodite was a source of scandal and led to numerous myths and stories. The capture of Ares and Aphrodite by Hephaestus. Hephaestus, the god of craftsmanship and husband to Aphrodite, discovered their affair. In one version of the story, Hephaestus fashioned an invisible, unbreakable net and trapped the adulterous couple in bed. The other gods gathered to witness the scandal, and only Poseidon managed to convince Hephaestus to release Ares and Aphrodite. Ares in the Trojan War. Ares actively participated in the Trojan War, siding with the Trojans against the Greeks. He supported the Trojans in battle, and his presence on the battlefield was often described as chaotic and destructive. However, he was wounded by the Greek hero Diomedes with the assistance of Athena. In pain and anger, Ares retreated to Mount Olympus, complaining about the injustice of being wounded by a mortal. Retinue and companions. Ares was often accompanied by his children, Deimos, terror, and Phobos, fear, as well as Eris, strife, his sister. These deities personified the destructive aspects of war. Cult worship and reverence. Ares did not enjoy the same level of reverence in Greek society as some other Olympian gods, such as Athena or Zeus. While he had temples and worshippers, he was not as widely celebrated, perhaps reflecting the ambivalence the Greeks felt toward the destructive aspects of war. Representation in art. In art, Ares was frequently depicted in armor, carrying a spear or sword. His image symbolized the raw, violent nature of war, in contrast to the strategic and disciplined approach associated with Athena. In summary, Ares represents the brutal and chaotic aspects of war in Greek mythology. Despite being a major Olympian deity, his character was often overshadowed by other gods with more positive attributes. Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, beauty, and fertility, is a central figure in Greek mythology. Her story is rich and diverse, involving her birth, romantic entanglements, and interactions with other gods and mortals. Birth. The most commonly accepted version of Aphrodite's birth involves her emerging from the sea foam near the island of Cyprus. According to this myth, Uranus's severed genitals fell into the sea after being cast into the ocean by his son, Cronus. The sea foam surrounding the genitals gave rise to Aphrodite, who floated ashore on a shell. Parentage. Aphrodite's parentage is a subject of variation in different myths. In Homer's Iliad, she is described as the daughter of Zeus and Dione. However, the more widely known and later myth attributes her birth to the sea foam, emphasizing her connection to the sea. Marriage to Hephaestus. Aphrodite was married to Hephaestus, the god of blacksmiths and craftsmanship. Their union was arranged by Zeus, partly as a strategic move to prevent conflicts among the gods vying for Aphrodite's affections. Despite the marriage, Aphrodite was known for her numerous affairs, and Hephaestus faced constant humiliation due to her unfaithfulness. Affairs and children. Aphrodite was linked romantically to various gods and mortals. One of her most famous love affairs was with Ares, the god of war, resulting in the birth of their children Phobos, fear, and Deimos, terror. She was also involved with Adonis, a mortal man, and Anchises, a Trojan prince. With Anchises, Aphrodite had a son named Aeneas, who played a significant role in Roman mythology as the legendary founder of Rome. The Judgment of Paris. Aphrodite played a crucial role in the Judgment of Paris, a contest among the goddesses Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Paris, a Trojan prince, was tasked with choosing the fairest goddess. Each goddess offered him a bribe, and Aphrodite promised him the love of the most beautiful mortal woman, Helen. This choice ultimately led to the Trojan War. Adventures in mythology. Aphrodite is featured in various myths and stories. One notable tale involves her involvement in the story of Pygmalion, a sculptor who fell in love with a statue he had created. Aphrodite took pity on Pygmalion and brought the statue, Galatea, to life. In gratitude, Pygmalion dedicated a temple to Aphrodite. Cult worship. Aphrodite was widely worshipped in ancient Greece, and her cult had many temples and festivals dedicated to her. The most famous of these was the Aphrodisia, celebrated in various cities. The city of Corinth, in particular, was renowned for its worship of Aphrodite. Aphrodite's influence extended beyond Greece, as her worship was adopted by the Romans, where she became identified with their goddess Venus. In both Greek and Roman traditions, Aphrodite/Venus remained a symbol of love, beauty, and fertility. Hephaestus, the Greek god of blacksmiths, metalworking, and craftsmanship, has a fascinating and complex mythology. Here is an overview of his story. Birth and physical appearance. Hephaestus was the son of Zeus and Hera, born either as a result of Zeus alone or through the union of Zeus and Hera. Various myths provide different accounts of his birth. Hephaestus is often depicted as physically impaired or deformed, and some stories suggest that Hera, displeased with his appearance, threw him off Mount Olympus. In other versions, he fell on his own when trying to intervene in a quarrel between Zeus and Hera. Rescue and return to Olympus. Despite his physical deformity, Hephaestus was rescued by Thetis, a sea nymph, and her sisters. They took him to their underwater cavern where he spent his formative years. Hephaestus honed his skills in craftsmanship and metalworking during this time. Eventually, Thetis returned him to Mount Olympus, seeking to reconcile him with his divine family. Marriage to Aphrodite. As a gesture of gratitude to Hera, Hephaestus created a magnificent throne for her. However, when Hera sat on the throne, it entrapped her. Hephaestus refused to release her until he was promised the goddess Aphrodite in marriage. The marriage, while seemingly reluctant on Aphrodite's part, resulted in numerous myths highlighting the contrast between the mismatched couple. Craftsmanship and inventions. Hephaestus became renowned for his exceptional skills in metalworking and craftsmanship. He crafted powerful weapons, armor, and various divine artifacts for the gods. The most famous of these creations was the shield of Achilles during the Trojan War. Myth of Prometheus. In some versions of the myth, Hephaestus played a role in the punishment of Prometheus. Prometheus had stolen fire from the gods and given it to humanity. As part of his punishment, Zeus had Hephaestus create the first woman, Pandora, who brought troubles to humanity. Return to Olympus. Hephaestus' return to Olympus marked his acceptance among the gods despite his physical imperfections. He became a respected member of the divine assembly, and his skills continued to be highly valued. Adulterous relationships. Despite being married to Aphrodite, Hephaestus faced numerous challenges due to her affairs with other gods and mortals. Notable among these was her relationship with Ares, the god of war. In some versions, Hephaestus crafted a cunning and invisible net to catch the lovers in the act, exposing their affair to the gods. Cultural significance. Hephaestus was worshipped in ancient Greece, particularly in cities with a focus on metalworking and craftsmanship. He was considered the patron god of blacksmiths, artisans, and craftsmen. Hephaestus' significance extended beyond Greece, and his Roman counterpart, Vulcan, played a similar role in Roman mythology. In summary, Hephaestus' story is one of resilience, talent, and triumph over physical challenges. His contributions to craftsmanship and metalworking, as well as his interactions with other gods, make him a distinctive figure in Greek mythology. Hermes, the Greek god of commerce, travel, and communication, is a multifaceted and mischievous figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of his story. Birth and early exploits. Hermes was born to Zeus and the Titaness Maia. His precocious nature became evident early on when, on the day of his birth, he managed to sneak out of his cradle and steal Apollo's cattle. To hide his tracks, he reversed the hooves of the cattle, making it challenging to trace them. Apollo eventually discovered the theft, but the clever Hermes charmed him with music and returned the cattle, earning Apollo's admiration. Messenger of the gods. Zeus recognized Hermes' intelligence and cunning and appointed him as the messenger of the gods. Hermes was often depicted with winged sandals, a winged hat, Pegasus, and a caduceus, a staff entwined with snakes, symbolizing his roles as a swift messenger and a guide to the underworld. Escort to the dead. In addition to his role as a messenger, Hermes served as a psychopomp, guiding the souls of the deceased to the underworld. He played a crucial role in leading souls across the river Styx and ensuring safe passage to the afterlife. Hermes and the invention of the lyre. Hermes is credited with the invention of the lyre, a musical instrument made from a tortoise shell. He traded the lyre with Apollo in another clever deal. In exchange, Apollo gave Hermes his caduceus. This event marked the establishment of their friendship and a resolution to the earlier cattle theft incident. The slaying of Argus. Hermes played a role in the slaying of Argus, a hundred-eyed giant. To rescue Io, a mortal woman transformed into a heifer by Zeus to protect her from Hera's jealousy, Hermes lulled Argus to sleep with his music and then killed him. In some versions of the myth, Hermes used his lyre to achieve this. The birth of Hermaphroditus. Hermes was involved in the birth of Hermaphroditus, a figure with both male and female characteristics. Hermaphroditus was the offspring of Hermes and Aphrodite, and the child merged with the nymph Salmacis to become a dual-gendered being. Prankster and trickster. Hermes had a mischievous and playful side, often engaging in pranks and tricks. His quick wit and cunning made him a beloved figure among the gods, and he used his cleverness to navigate various situations. Cultural significance. Hermes was widely worshipped in ancient Greece, and many cities had temples dedicated to him. He was associated with good fortune, commerce, and protection during travel. The Herma, rectangular stone pillars with a carved head of Hermes on top, were erected at crossroads and served as markers and symbols of protection. In summary, Hermes' story is one of wit, versatility, making him a dynamic and influential figure in Greek mythology. Dionysus, the Greek god of wine, ecstasy, and revelry, has a fascinating and complex mythology. Here is an overview of his story. Birth. Dionysus was the son of Zeus and Semele, a mortal princess. Hera, jealous of Semele's relationship with Zeus, tricked Semele into asking Zeus to reveal his true divine form. Unable to withstand the radiance of Zeus, Semele was incinerated. However, Zeus rescued the unborn Dionysus by sewing him into his thigh until he was ready to be born. Dionysus is often referred to as twice-born due to this unique birth story. Childhood. After his unconventional birth, Dionysus was raised by nymphs and satyrs. Hera, still harboring resentment, sought to torment Dionysus during his childhood. She drove him to madness, causing him to wander through various lands. During this time, he discovered the cultivation of grapes and the art of winemaking. Journey and revelation. Dionysus embarked on a journey across the known world, spreading his teachings and introducing the cultivation of the vine. He faced various challenges, including encounters with pirates who tried to kidnap him. Dionysus demonstrated his divine powers by transforming into a lion and causing a grapevine to overgrow the ship, turning the crew into dolphins. Association with festivals. Dionysus is closely associated with festivals and celebrations, especially the Dionysian mysteries. These festivals, marked by music, dance, and ritualistic revelry, aimed to evoke a sense of ecstasy and communion with the divine. Participants, known as Maenads and satyrs, engaged in wild and frenzied behaviors. Worship and cults. Dionysus inspired fervent worship, and his cults were diverse and widespread. The worship of Dionysus was characterized by a sense of liberation and an embrace of the wild and untamed aspects of human nature. Mystery cults dedicated to Dionysus often involved secret initiation rites. Theater and Dionysian drama. Dionysus is also associated with the development of Greek theater. Theatrical performances, especially tragedies and comedies, were often presented in his honor during festivals. The Dionysian drama explored themes of ecstasy, catharsis, and the interplay between the divine and mortal worlds. Myth of Pentheus. In one notable myth, Dionysus returned to Thebes, his birthplace, to claim his rightful place among the gods. King Pentheus of Thebes resisted Dionysus and his followers, the Maenads. In retaliation, Dionysus caused Pentheus to be torn apart by his own mother, Agave, who was in a state of Dionysian frenzy. Transformation and recognition. Dionysus' role as a god of transformation and liberation is evident in his myths. He offered the possibility of rebirth and the release of inhibitions through his association with wine, theater, and ecstatic rituals. His worship continued to be significant in various forms throughout the ancient world. In summary, Dionysus represents the dual nature of ecstasy and madness, celebrating the joys of life and the transformative power of revelry in Greek mythology. Hestia, the Greek goddess of the hearth, home, and family, is a somewhat understated but highly revered figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of her story. Parentage. Hestia was one of the 12 Olympian deities, born to the Titans Cronus and Rhea. She was the eldest sister of Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Demeter, and Hades. In some accounts, Hestia was the firstborn child, but in others, she was swallowed by Cronus along with her siblings and later regurgitated. Role and attributes. Hestia's primary domain was the hearth, which served as the center of the home and the focal point of family life. She represented the sacred flame, symbolizing warmth, light, and the continuity of the family. Hestia was associated with the virtues of hospitality, unity, and domestic harmony. Virgin Goddess. Hestia was one of the few virgin goddesses among the Olympians. She swore an eternal oath of chastity, choosing to remain unmarried and dedicated to her role as the guardian of the hearth. This devotion to the home and family made her a symbol of stability and continuity. No myths of her own. Unlike many other gods and goddesses, Hestia is not typically the central figure in many myths. Instead, her importance lies in her presence and the sacredness she brings to the household. Hestia's qualities were revered, and her influence was felt in the rituals and ceremonies that involved the household hearth. The first and last libation. In ancient Greek religious ceremonies, the tradition was to pour a libation, an offering of a liquid, usually wine, before and after a feast or event. Hestia's name was invoked first in the pouring of the libation, symbolizing the importance of the hearth as the center of hospitality. Similarly, her name was invoked last, signifying the closing of the event and the return to the home. Reverence and worship. The Greeks held Hestia in high esteem, recognizing the fundamental role she played in their daily lives. Every household had a hearth, and sacrifices and offerings were made to Hestia before any other deity during family rituals. Public hearths, such as those in city-states, were also dedicated to her. Vesta in Roman mythology. In Roman mythology, Hestia was identified with the goddess Vesta. The worship of Vesta in Rome closely mirrored the reverence for Hestia in Greece. The Vestal virgins, priestesses dedicated to Vesta, tended the sacred flame in the Roman Forum. In summary, Hestia's story is one of quiet yet profound significance. Her presence in the home, hearth, and family rituals exemplified the importance of stability, unity, and the sacredness of domestic life in ancient Greek culture. Eros, the Greek god of love and desire, is a figure in Greek mythology often associated with the concept of romantic or passionate love. His story is varied and evolves in different myths. Here is an overview of Eros and some aspects of his mythology. Parentage. Eros is often considered the son of Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, and Ares, the god of war. However, in some traditions, Eros is portrayed as a primordial being, one of the original forces present at the creation of the cosmos. Attributes and representations. Eros is typically depicted as a young and handsome winged youth armed with a bow and arrows. These arrows, according to mythology, had the power to incite love and desire in their targets. Eros could use them to make gods and mortals fall in love, and even the gods were not immune to his influence. Myth of Eros and Psyche. One of the most well-known stories involving Eros is the myth of Eros and Psyche. Psyche was a mortal princess so beautiful that people began to worship her instead of Aphrodite. In response, Aphrodite became jealous and sent Eros to make Psyche fall in love with a monstrous creature. However, Eros accidentally pricked himself with his own arrow and fell in love with Psyche. He arranged for her to be taken to a magnificent palace, but he concealed his identity and visited her only in the darkness of night. Psyche was forbidden from looking at Eros, and she obeyed until her sisters convinced her that her mysterious lover might be a monster. One night, she lit a lamp to see him, but a drop of hot oil woke Eros, who fled. Psyche then embarked on a series of trials to win back Eros and eventually achieved reconciliation with the help of other gods. Zeus eventually granted Psyche immortality, and she and Eros were united in divine love. Eros in other myths. In various myths, Eros is portrayed as a mischievous and playful figure who enjoys causing trouble with his arrows. His influence can be seen in the romantic entanglements of gods and mortals throughout Greek mythology. Cultural significance. Eros had a significant role in ancient Greek art, literature, and philosophy. His portrayal evolved over time, and he became associated not only with romantic love but also with the broader concepts of desire and passion. Later interpretations. In Roman mythology, Eros was identified with Cupid. In art, literature, and later cultural traditions, the concept of Cupid is often associated with romantic love, with Cupid's arrows symbolizing the unpredictable nature of desire. In summary, Eros is a complex and multifaceted figure in Greek mythology, embodying the powerful and sometimes unpredictable force of love and desire. The myth of Eros and Psyche, in particular, explores themes of love, trust, and the trials faced by mortal and immortal alike. Nemesis, the Greek goddess of retribution and vengeance, is a complex figure in Greek mythology. Here is an overview of her story. Parentage. Nemesis was usually described as a daughter of Nyx, the goddess of the night, and sometimes as a daughter of Erebus, the personification of darkness. In other accounts, she was considered a child of Zeus and Nyx. Attributes and representation. Nemesis was often depicted as a winged goddess with a measuring rod or a whip, symbolizing divine retribution and the concept of balance in life. She represented the righteous anger of the gods and the inexorable force of fate. Role and function. Nemesis' primary role was to ensure that mortals and gods received the consequences of their actions. She brought retribution upon those who displayed hubris, excessive pride, or arrogance, and she rewarded those who acted with humility and respect. Her presence was seen as a corrective force in the world, maintaining cosmic balance. Myth of Nemesis and Narcissus. One of the most famous stories associated with Nemesis involves the beautiful youth Narcissus. Narcissus rejected the love of Echo, a nymph cursed by Hera, and as a punishment, Nemesis lured Narcissus to a pool. There, Narcissus fell in love with his own reflection, unable to tear himself away. Eventually, he wasted away and died, his unrequited love leading to his downfall, a form of divine retribution for his excessive self-love. Parentage of Helen of Troy. In some accounts, Nemesis was said to be the mother of Helen of Troy. According to this version, Zeus, in the form of a swan, pursued Nemesis, who transformed into a goose to escape him. From this union, an egg was produced, and Helen emerged from that egg. Worship and reverence. Nemesis did not have extensive cult worship like some other gods, but she was venerated in certain places. Her shrines were often found near places associated with games and competitions, where she could ensure fair play and just outcomes. Nemesis in later traditions. The concept of Nemesis has persisted in various forms in later literature and cultural traditions. The term Nemesis is commonly used to describe a formidable opponent or a source of just punishment, reflecting the original Greek understanding of divine retribution. In summary, Nemesis played a crucial role in Greek mythology as the avenger of hubris and the enforcer of cosmic balance. Her stories emphasize the consequences of arrogance and the importance of humility in the face of divine justice. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.